Hi, folks. This is Mary Jo here. I'm terribly inconsistent, playing around with this booktuber thing, more out of a fear of I don't want to say the same things about books all the time. But it's something I would love to do more of. So I'm going to use this kind of as a jumping off point to maybe spending more of my summer doing some videos. I am participating in the month of July in a book challenge put together by the Book Junkie Trials on Twitter. I'll be sharing all of the links necessary in the comments below. But this is a pretty extensive challenge, and I'm pretty excited about it. It is a non-genre specific challenge, so you're not having to read all books from one genre. I realize that a lot of mine are coming from a similar genre, but you don't have to do it that way. Um, but I'm going to read to you the descriptions that of the individual moments in the challenge I'm trying to fulfill, and then share the books that I'm reading with you. The one really fun thing is this is a team competition. There are four teams: the mages, the magi, the scribes, the bards, and the outlaws. There's a little test you can take, and again, you'll find it on the links below. That will sort of farm you into your team. If you don't like that team and you don't really want to be on that team, then don't stay on that team. You can change. I happen to like the team I ended up on, so I stayed. Um, but what you do is you have four books that you're supposed to read in order, and then you read the Bookie Grail, which is the same book for all four of the teams. If you're really ambitious, you can read all of the books for all of the challenges plus the Grail, which is 17 books. The recommendation being get your own challenge done first, so get your four and the Grail for your team, then go back and start reading the other 12 that you haven't read. There are micro challenges, things like take a picture of your TBR and post it. For our team, there was a take a selfie of you with your favorite fantasy book and post it. This is mostly being handled on like Twitter and Discord, which I just discovered Discord thanks to my daughter, who also happens to be doing this challenge. Really, it's her fault that I found the writing community on Twitter, and it's consuming a lot of my social, or not my social, like my downtime, my private time. And it's all her fault. Although I'm not really mad because it's books. Um, but as a mage, as a member of Team Magi, I have the following requirements that I have to fulfill. The first one is, and this is all done on a map. Some people have been really creative and clever and put the little thumbnails of the books at all of the map locations. I haven't gone that far yet. I'm just doing the video. Orc Grove is where the challenge starts for Team Magi. And the description says, some say there's no talking to the orcs, but a good political relationship is needed. Learn some orc customs by reading a book that is gruesome, gory, or gritty. And I have been told, I've only read a small snippet of this one, Graydon, The Secret of Ilrin. The title character is sort of the Punisher within his culture. He has the ability to liquidate the human body with just his thoughts. So when people are being punished for crimes against the faith or against the kingdom, he just liquefies their bodies publicly. It's a very public thing, and it's meant to freak people out and scare them and cause them to shriek in fear. You're intimidating people into not breaking the law. So I'm excited about it because I've been told it's a really rich world. It's a very well constructed fantasy world. But I've also been told it's extremely graphic in its descriptions of people dying. By L.K. Evans, Graydon, The Secret of Ilrin. I believe it's the beginning of a series. Old Pirate Cove, Shiver Me Timbers. You shall be walking the plank if you don't learn how to sail better. Read a book that takes place, at least in part, on sea. I'm going back to my childhood for this one. I haven't read this book in forever. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. It's been a lot of years since I've read that, so I'm excited to revisit. I'm a big person for a lot of people I know when they do challenges or book lists, they're like, I'm reading everything new. That's great, but I have some books that I want to go back and revisit because at 50, there's a lot of books I've read that pieces of it have drifted away over time. I was one of those that always did the library summer reading program. My parents always made sure that we had all the necessary stuff, so I've read a lot. The third book it's called the third island, the third location is Glimmer. It's an island alight with gems and crystals, one of the most picturesque spots in the High Queendom. Make sure you fit in with a beautiful or colorful book. I'm really playing on that word. Scarlet is my book. Colorful is what I'm playing on. Um, One of the things I'll talk about in a minute is every team has a strength and a weakness. And our weakness, I'll talk about the strength in a minute, but our weakness is we end up having a spell go bad, and we end up having to read a book that's tough for us. This was a challenge for me. That's probably the biggest challenge on my TBR is to find a book that was hard or would be hard for me to read because I'll read anything. Graphic novels, manga, I've read them all and I can find something in every genre that I like. There's really not a genre that I look at and go, no. This book is a standalone in an entirely fantasy universe, but it is the second book in that series. And I don't do that. I start with book one. I won't start with book. You can tell me it's a standalone for days, and I'm still going to go, yeah, no, but I got to go back and read the first book. You can tell me, oh, the story will stand up on its own just fine. Yeah, don't care. I'm going back to read the first book and then going on from there. I can't do it any other way. So that will also be the book that meets the requirement for reading a book that is my weakness. Draconic Isle. I'm excited about this one too. Um, Read a book with dragons. Hello. Hello. No, it's the island is swarming with wyverns and dragons. Brush up on your draconic knowledge with a book that features dragons. This is the second book in a series I've already started. It's called Dragon Singer, Harper of Pern. I believe Anne McCaffrey has written another sort of partner series called The Dragon Riders of Pern, but this is specifically about musicians and their role in the kingdom. Um, the first book was really, really good, and so I'm excited to read the second one um, and see what happens further to the young lady that in the first book, this young lady broke tradition and became a female singer, which is not normally done, which I love. Once I've done that, I'm going to go and read the Bookie Grail, which everybody is reading Neil Gaiman's Stardust. I read Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and loved it, so I'm really looking forward to jumping into another Gaiman book. From there, I can jump into the rest of the challenges. And yes, I'm insane enough to try to do all 17 books. Now, the catch for me is as a member of Team Mage, we get 3 extra days because we are magical. We can bend time. So we get a 3-day head start. We actually get to start this Friday, the 28th, which is exciting. So that 3 extra days, I'm hoping, will help me get through my 17 titles. But I'm gonna real quick run through. I don't have pictures for all of these, but the idea is that this is like above this line, all of that stuff up there is my teams. So the idea is I have to read them in the order. I have to read Orc Grove, Old Pirate's Cave, Glimmer, Draconic Isle. I have to read them in that order and then read the Bookie Grail. After that, I can jump into the other books. Crimson Peaks, reread a favorite to soothe peaks that are about to blow into dormancy. I'm going with Calico Palace by Gwen Barstow. I read that book just about once a year. It's my absolute favorite. Really, really rich writing in that one. Queendom Stone, the Stone of Our Royal Majesty, what are the royal customs of other lands? Read a book featuring royalty. I'm moving forward in a lot of series with this readathon, I've noticed. The Emperor's Harvest, Tales of Zelodia by R.A. Denny. I've read the first book of the series. Phenomenal world building, phenomenal character building. I can't wait to read the second book. Forgotten Forests, all these open series. The forest knows and feels your forgetfulness. It will sing a mournful lament, tormenting you until you read the next in the series. Technically not a true series, but I've already got so many others that are qualifying. I'm sort of fudging what it means by series to go with the second book by an author that has a recurring character. I'm reading Body of Evidence by Patricia Cornwell, which is book 2 of her Kinsey Mulhoney series. So, Weeping Falls, to pass through the rapids unscathed, you must give to the falls. So read a tearjerker. I've read this one before. I'm coming back to it because it's also for another reading challenge I'm doing this year. Eyes Wide Open by Ted Decker fulfills not only something for this challenge, but for the year-long challenge I'm doing. Thank you, Pop Sugar. Dwarf Mount. You spot a fair tavern wench, however the dwarf mind's grimy and dusty. Don't evoke a very romantic feeling, so read a book with a hint of romance to get you in the mood. The Witch's Spark. Cute little fantasy romance by Melania Tolan. Apothecary Towers, where the wizards dwell. Tricksters have blindfolded you and randomized all your books. Choose a book at random from your bookshelf. Most of my books, I have a very limited selection of books on hand, hard copy. Most of my books are on my Kindle app on my iPad. So I just kind of opened the app and I just kind of went like this and got it to scroll up and then stopped the screen. Whichever book was closest to where my finger stopped is the one I put down. I'm reading a book called The Pygmy Dragon by Mark Secchi. Don't know a lot about it, but I'm intrigued. The cover art's gorgeous. The Great Library. Who doesn't love a challenge with the title of The Great Library tucked in there somewhere? Find and read a book that has been on your TBR forever. I read the first book in this series, again, working on series, 2 years ago. Never got around to the sequel last year for some stupid reason. So I'm reading The Deceiving, which is book 2 in the Knowing trilogy by Naomi Hammond, and I'm super excited about that. Why I haven't gotten to it sooner, I don't know, but we're gonna go with that. But it's been on my TBR forever, like a year and a half now. Drowning Deep is The Whirlpool. Read a book with rich world building that will suck you into its own world. This one, I'm going with a book recommended by another reader that I've met online, Warrior Mage, Chains of Honor, Book 1 by Lindsay Baroker. It's one of those books that sort of takes reality and twists it to be fantasy. So there are things in the fantasy world that I will recognize as being similar to our world, but it's completely a different fantasy creation. The Elven Guard. They're surprised by my visit and immediately on the offensive. Read a book with war, military, or political themes to learn how to calm the situation down. The Five Musketeers at Swords Point is what I'm reading for this by Pierre Chevalier. I love the Three Musketeers. I've loved every rendition of the movie that's been done. I've seen the BBC TV series. So yeah, I'm excited to delve into a different retelling, sort of a spin-off kind of book based on that. On the Hallow Isle lurk incorporeal monsters and the ghosts of your past. Read an atmospheric or horror book to pass this test of nerve. Now, I had no idea what atmospheric was as far as a genre goes. I mean, I know what the atmosphere is. We can talk about atmospheric conditions, and I know we're talking about the weather. I had no idea what an atmospheric genre book was. So I did some digging. Thank you, Google. And the first example that every single website gave me was the Harry Potter series. True Confessions, I read the first book, found it to be ridiculously boring, and so I gave up on the series. This was, my oldest daughter was in 3rd grade at the time, and she's now almost 28, so it's been a minute. But I'm going to give it another try. I promised, my kids have all fallen in love with the series, so I promised them I would eventually get around to adding the books to my TBR, so I'm going to stumble my way through the first book again. So we're going to jump into the Harry Potter series with that. Empty Barrel Inn, everyone deserves a swig or two. Some say it even aids in warming up the vocal cords. Enjoy something indulgent. I'm reading a book called The Wolf Prince. Again, one of those books from a fantasy world standalone novel. This is book 1. I am starting there. But all about a group of brothers who are werewolves. And most of the pictures on the fronts of the books are really good-looking men with no shirts and great big wolves standing around them. So alone, the cover is indulgent. But Wolf Prince by Stephanie Wallace is my pick for that category. Giant Squid is a fearsome fellow. Read a book that intimidates you, and this foe shall be a dawdle. I'm rereading it. I read it once back in college, but It by Stephen King. The book content doesn't intimidate me, but it's over like it's 600-700 some pages. So the sheer size of it, trying to get through it as a part of a 17-book reading challenge in a month is a little intimidating. I'm just having such a good time hanging out with the community, the Book Junkie Trials community. As I said, it's mostly taking place on Twitter and Discord, but there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of people sharing the pictures of their TBRs and sharing videos and graphics that they've made. So if you're interested, all the information, basically I'm going to get you to the Twitter feed for the Book Junkie Trials and have you go from there. I might even include like the head of each team's Twitter feeds down below just in case. But it's worth it if you enjoy reading and you enjoy talking about your books and your experiences in a community. This is a great way to go about it. So happy reading.